So let me bring the focus back to the issue of the open offer. Pending for a year now, why did we see a 12-month wait before we actually had an application going out to the regulators?
That's a question which you should be asking to the Committee of Independent Directors. And I am also part of the board, while I am also the executive chairperson of the board. That is because that it is the duty of any independent board or any responsible board to do the right thing. If that wasn't the importance of the board for scrutinizing all the things coming through the board was not important, RBI would not have actually made it a regulation that all the processes of the open offer would only and only come through the target company, so that the board can scrutinize. That is the first level of scrutiny. If it wasn't important, then it shouldn't have been there.
Let me bring in the element here of, from a securities law standpoint, when we talk of SAST regulations, when we talk of open offer regulations, at least a few securities lawyers that we spoke to, they seem to suggest that as far as the takeover code is concerned, when you have a 25% threshold being breached, there is no filter for fit and proper candidate, that is an exercise that needs to happen. That 26% open offer needs to happen.
It is not an automatic situation, Ashmit.
That felt that there is no provision for a fit and proper criteria.
So there are two things. Let me tell you one thing. Fit and proper has got nothing to do with that how much money do you have and whether that money can buy you the shares from the market. If that would have been there, then God save the countries. The only thing is the regulators of this country are very, very vigilant, as vigilant as the strong government it is. And they ensure that, one, that, you know, in 2019, SEBI had written to the board that you cannot have direct or indirect association with erstwhile promoters, or erstwhile promoters cannot have any kind of, linking with the company. So when there are enough evidences that come to the board, and after scrutinizing those evidences, or we have to only and only be the responsible board, Committee of Independent Directors sent all those, whatever came to them, they sent it across to all the regulators, including RBI, and it is now with the RBI to take a call on it. Fit and proper does not mean that you can acquire any amount of shares and it will go through. Fit and proper has a lot of criteria, and every regulator has its own criteria of deciding fit and proper, and RBI has also its own criteria.
So let's talk about that.
Let me just finish this part. You know, when we were to get into the debt restructuring mode, unfortunately the Chatterjee group had, were trying to take, RFL, and they're a big company, they're a Haldia Petrochemical and so on and so forth. They did not get a fit and proper. They did not get a fit and proper in spite of the fact they were a very big group. I don't know why they didn't get a fit and proper. Because RBI has its own norms and their own conditions to decide on doing it. It is not deemed automatic that you acquire one thing. Second is that why, if again there should have been an SAST that if it reaches 25%, the board becomes redundant, then the target company can directly apply. Target company did apply directly, Ashmit, in November. Their application was not acceded to. They again wrote to us, because we got a copy of it, they wrote to us also that it is only going to be considered if the acquirers would be writing through the target company. It is target company who has to apply for the change of management. And that time the 25% happened. It is also quite a situation. In fact, they were 21.5%, whether they could have gone ahead. So SAST can be read in either which ways. Sure. They acquired that extra 4.5%. Could they have done it without the RBI's approval or not? That is also a point to have had a debate and a discussion. But they had to put it into escrow account. As per the SAST, they could not have. But nonetheless, that all these points are for consideration.
Let me ask you a supplementary question then, that when you talk of the fit and proper nature of the Burmans, of them coming in as and acquiring management control, the question I want to ask you is, declaring them or adjudicating upon them to be a fit and proper candidate, is that a function or a power that is available to the board, or is that something that should be left to a quasi-judicial tribunal or to perhaps the regulator in this case? Is this a decision that should have been forwarded to the RBI for them to take a call and not for the independent directors to decide whether or not they're fit and proper? Is this adjudicatory power available to you, or is it resting with the regulator?
There is a power and there are responsibilities. My answer to you is that board, everything has its own place. If the board was irrelevant after accumulation of a particular amount of shareholding, then there would have been no requirement for the board to have passed on the applications to RBI. Board has, if you would read what are the responsibilities of the board, nobody tries and understands the responsibility of the board. This is the board which is answerable to every quarter, everywhere. Nobody understands what are the responsibility of the board, right? And when the board does its duty, they say that no, it has come across, so board has no powers because the responsibility gets converted into power and then board has no power. Let me ask you a question. Because it is a not promoter-driven company, because it is an independent board-driven organization, does this board, you never asked me a question, why did the board take so many important drastic steps on the erstwhile promoters? Nobody asked me this question. Why? Why did you not ask me the questions that why did we even go for a restructuring and OTS when it was not needed for anybody to? Nobody asked me this question. Today when the board is, they were responsible then, they turned around the company then, nobody is asking the question. Today they are saying that why have you not automatically given it? Tell me one thing, if there are certain
You're saying
elements.
Not power, but the responsibility.
It is the responsibility. Please, we have to be responsible as citizens, as individuals, and as the board also. And especially more responsible because it's not a promoter-driven company, it's not an agenda-driven company, it is something which is answerable. We've got a retail shareholders, we are answerable to all those shareholders. One thing. And second is we are also answerable to the MCA, to the regulators, and so on and so forth. Every place, everything has its own importance.
That, Dr. Saluja, brings me to my final question. We are seeing allegations and charges of fit and proper being exchanged between both the sides. You've answered very many questions. We'd like to again thank you for taking out time for that. The final question I'll end with is, in fact, a point that you brought up just before the recording began, just before the cameras were switched on, when you talked about continuing at the helm of Religare Enterprises. The question some are asking on the issue of optics, that's coming in the way, is that Dr. Saluja herself is facing fit and proper charges of whether or not she's fit and proper, her status at the helm. Is that a thought that's crossed your mind? What is the best way forward from here?
Let me ask you, my status, my position, and my working capacity is the same as I had started 6 years back. What has changed into it? My only thought is that all these allegations that has been brought up on me and on my employees and at times on the board also, we are the same set of people. हम लोगों ने अग्नि परीक्षा बहुत बारी दे दी है, हर बारी दी है. All of us have gone through very, very difficult phase. My final question to everybody is, am I being rewarded or punished for turning around a company? Is this board being rewarded or punished for turning around the company? Is this the management facing the music is being rewarded or actually punished to this severity? Do you understand, Ashmit? All of us come from middle class people. We all work very hard. Today, for turning around a company, this is the worst ever reward that I am getting for creating a value. All these people who are putting an allegation on us have been rewarding us, talking to us, or have been saying that, oh wow, what a turnaround story when all these companies were falling, and then you people did so well. Did anybody get to know how did we do it? Did anybody had the guts to come on the board and actually share the burden with us? None. Today, this is happening. It is such a demotivation to every person who has a good intent of doing it, because we do not have the resources to defend ourselves. You asked me why did I want to come to the channel to, to be part of this interview? So that I would like to tell everybody, I am one of all of you. If this is what is going to happening to me, it could happen to anybody. Please don't let these kind of things actually look bad. Our families are getting affected. Our employees are getting affected. There is no incentivization to work well. So please don't do it.
Well, it certainly has been a challenging time, and we've put some tough questions to you, but you've answered them. We wish you the best, Dr. Saluja. I'd like to thank you for taking our time and for having this candid conversation with us on CNBC TV 18.